It's always a good night. If it's anytime during the weekday, Monday through Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, whatever the case may be, it's always good when you can be amongst people, not just the listeners out there listening, but also the guests we have. What's happening, people? Your man, iambranded, in the building, and thank you for everybody that not just logged in and locked in for tonight's show, but has been supportive of this man's legacy for a long time. And before I put Mr. Antonio Fargus on the air, let me just tell you, like, this guy to me just continues to keep working. You know, this man always stays busy. I mean, you know, a lot of these young cats out here definitely need to take some notes from this guy, because I don't know how this man been doing it since way back when, and still continues to be a force in this entertainment business, and well-respected, not just from his generation, but also countless of other generations that has come up and that has actually, you know, saw his work, studied this man, and tried to emulate him in some way, shape, or form. And I want to welcome Antonio Huggy Bear Fargus on to Nexxlegacy once again. What's up, sir?
Hey, man. You know, what an intro, man. You know, I think the deal is that I don't know how it happened, but all I know is that I've been blessed for 54 years, man. I started in this game when I was 14 years old, and I'll be 69 this summer, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful journey. And then to be, you know, the intro to, I mean, I just love the intro, but I love the fact that you were playing Marvin Gaye, and you know, and because I just purchased that Motown 25, you know, where they got together and Michael Jackson rolled out the Moonwalk and Smokey Robinson, and Marvin did such a wonderful, wonderful intro on the piano. You know, I mean, these are the treasures that I've been able to observe, and then by just being so blessed, you know, to be even, you know, considered an icon or having a legacy, and you know, so. I mean, I just get lost on YouTube just listening and looking at videos and looking at performances, and it's just you know, and thank goodness that we have this wonderful thing called the internet, which can plug us in with history and legacies and anything you want to know about, and that we're no longer, like in the shadows, and people who have gone before us are no longer in the shadows, man. We can find out about who they are, and we can also bless them while they're alive. I just remember seeing Little Richard introduce, Otis Redding into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and he sang "Sitting on the Dock of the Bay" so beautifully. They both were from Georgia. He had that voice, and that's the kind of stuff that that's out there, that's available to to your listeners and to me. So we're just living in a really, really good time, and again, it's just like I didn't know that this was a spiritual journey from day one, and I think that's the cherry on the cake of my career, in my life, and because I may not have that many more years down here, but the quality of life and the quality of being able to appreciate, not only, the gifts that I've been given, but the gifts that all of us have been given. So.
You brought up something,
and it's a good night.
It is, and just to be able to hang out with you and just tell folks that I know this guy. This is my guy. Like, to me, it means a lot more from me, because I do appreciate your work. And before I start asking you, not just some of the new stuff you have going on, but a lot of legacy questions as well. You brought it up, so I'm gonna, because I think you and I probably purchased this DVD of Motown 25 at the same time, and you brought up Marvin Gaye, and just a lot of people talk about and they remember the Moonwalk and the Jackson 5, the reunion, this, that, and the other, and that was the talk of it all, and rightfully so. But a lot of solid performances. You go back to the Supremes, like you mentioned, Marvin Gaye, Smokey Robinson. So many different I guess you can say like, historic events that happened at that point in time, people tend to forget. My question to you is when you actually, broke it out and looked at it like, years later, like, did that give you that nostalgic, that feeling, that vibe, that, the chills that happened when you first saw it when you was younger?
I remember when I look at, my own filmography or and I realized that when I was doing this movie or this time when I was doing, that this is the music that was playing. These are the people who were the same age I was at that time, and it just kind of puts in, it sort of frames the moment, and so for me to look at Marvin and then see the evolution and how precious, life is, and even for Michael to see his evolution and to be able to appreciate, that last video that he did before he passed. I mean, it's just I don't know, tears of joy or tears of recognition that was so profound, and to be a part of that, to see the tapestry, because I can look at, like the projects that I've been able to do and realize, what was a struggle at the moment, and how, God was all over that, all over my life, and I didn't really have to struggle, and today I realize that I took the foot off the gas of trying to drive the car of my life, because I let the man, drive my life, steer my life today. All I do is sit in the seat and take my hands off the wheel and the gas, because I've always gotten what I was supposed to get. I didn't realize that I had to struggle. I have to do the work, because I think I do the work, I do the footwork, and I leave the results up to my Creator. And that has been a great, lesson for me, is that, this was all pre-planned. We were supposed to be on this telecast, on this podcast, on your show, was written before we were born, and all we have to do is show up tonight. There's no way we could have avoided this evening. And, I don't know, man. I'm just, I guess, when I realized that, I guess I'm getting more spiritual. I mean, I even watched the football game, and I realized how much, Russell Wilson was plugged in, was so plugged in, and that, we never talk about the prayer circle that these guys who've been on the field, who've been beating each other up and all of that, and then at the end of the game they get down and they circle up and and pray together. And my son played in the NFL, and one of the most precious pictures I have is when he played. The Raiders played the Green Bay Packers, and there's a picture of him kneeling down with some other players from the Green Bay Packers and the Raiders, and they were praying after the game. So, I just, the sooner you get it, as soon as folks get it, that is what's been missing, in our lives in terms of all the things that are going on around the world and everything else, is to figure out that there's no mistakes in his world, and we just have to figure out how to accept that and learn from it. And so again, all these things that are even happening to me today, is I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I'm living semi-retired, living in Las Vegas, and more busy than I was when I was acting and trying to pursue this thing full time.
And I'm going to ask you about just the evolution of your career. And you talked about 54 years in this business. You started when you was 14, and just the fact that it's been able to transcend generations, and it picked up from one generation to the next, and from that next generation to the next. And a lot of it had to do with not just the people's appreciation for your craft, but it also has to do with storytelling. Like, it didn't just go from one ear and it didn't shut down. It went from one ear to the it went from one ear to the other and to the other.
Characters, by having respect for the characters and the craft of acting, and being true to the game, true to the characters that I played, and I think that resonated with the young cats like Will Smith and Martin and Chris Rock, who realize that that they appreciate the history that's involved in it, and I realize whose shoulders I stand on, and I've been making my shoulders strong, for these brothers, and they all gave me jobs in their projects because they have an appreciation. There's the only way that's one of the ways they could say thank you, and that's humbling, and it's also very big, and it's also how I like to I like to lead by example, and how I walk the walk and do the deal. So
how do you come to, I guess in a lot of ways is your legacy is like you could retire, like you say, you're semi-retired, but I'm going to talk to you about some stuff that you're actually getting into these days. But you're semi-retired, but you have this legacy that will stand the test of time. And there's so many, I guess you could say, people that not necessarily want to be like you, but they actually are trying to achieve what you have when it comes to that legacy. So those people out there, what would you say to that next man or woman that's inspired by what you have accomplished throughout these years? What can you actually tell these people as far as what they need or what can happen in order for them to be able to continue on and be that next legacy?
Well, I think the only thing I can do, one of the few things that I can do is give them the dignity of failure. I had that same thing afforded to me. I learned from the journey, from the mistakes, from the triumphs, from the successes, and it's. I believe that if they want, there's people who inspired me in the game, people like Robin Hooks and Billy D. Williams and all these guys who were my peers just before me as I was coming up in New York, and I joined a family. When I found theater, when I found my first film, I found a family that felt the same way I felt, that felt different, that the chance takers. I understood why the jazz musician or the discipline of the dancer or the musician, the struggle when one has to do is to work on your chops and also to have a life and also to support your craft and be able to have to do part-time jobs and all this kind of stuff, because I had something that I wanted to say or I wanted to achieve. And so it's about the struggle. It's about the journey, not the destination. And when you realize that, even if you may not, if you're in this thing to be a star or to just get the end result, then you're looking for the magic bullet. There is no magic bullet. It's through the work and the struggle that you get. When you walk in my shoes, you get what I get. But you have to walk in your own shoes. I put my feet in the footprints of those who went before me, but I had to do the step, and I had to take the steps. I had to do the walking. And, so I love it that people may be inspired by how I've been blessed, and they can also be blessed by doing the work and the struggle. Because, again, if you're in it to be a star, you may be disappointed. If you're in it to win an Academy Award, you may be disappointed. If you're in it to get a series like Starsky and Hutch or anything like that, you may be disappointed because it's almost like the lottery, and God chooses. Everybody plays the lottery, but only one person can win. When you're up for a role in a series like Starsky and Hutch or any other series, there's about 60 people, 100 people, or even more who want that same role, who may be qualified. And, who knows? Some of the best singers didn't have recording contracts, And there's, you know, I knew some of the guys singing on the corner, you know, and you know they were great, but only at, you know, and then to whom much is given, much is expected. So when we get these things, what do you do with it? You know, when you get that job in the NFL, what do you do with it on the NBA? All of that, you know.
Right.
It's you know, it's an interesting life, man. You know what I mean? It's not for everybody, you know. And knowledge is one thing, book knowledge and all that stuff, but how do you put that into practical practice on a daily basis to get to that Academy Award, to get to that film, or to get to, you know, to that series, or to get to that recording contract. You know, so it's, I don't know.
The journey is surreal. Antonio Fargus is our guest on Nexxlegacy Radio, and you know, I want to switch gears because, you know, I was you know, I'm always keeping tabs on you. I just, you know, and it's all for the betterment of my inspiration, because, you know, I always find Mr. Fargus is my friend. So if he's my friend, I would like to know what this guy's up to. And, you know, I wound up, I was like, wait a minute, Antonio Fargus sings the blues, the new jump blues at the West Side Jazz Fest. I got it on my timeline, and, you know, yeah, you got two people on the side of you, and you got the, you know, the fly suit and the hat and the whole deal going on, and you got this blues action going on. Tell the listeners a little bit about exactly what's going on with the new jump blues.
Well, I always wanted to have a musical expression, and I'm not a lyrical. I'm not a singer, but I'm a storyteller, and more I'm a jazz person and a poet, and I'm a performer. So I was able, along with my partner Jimmy Maslin, we wanted to find a way to, you know, to a genre and a niche that would fit my skill set, so to speak. And the New Jump Blues, you know, was an incarnation of our love for music and our love for those pioneers like Louis Jordan and Louis Prima and you know, Satchmo. I mean, it's just, and also, I mean, I did a movie called Pretty Baby where I played Jelly Roll Morton character. It was, you know, New Orleans inspired, you know, innovator of, and from when the blues went into the New Orleans deal, and so all this is like this great gumbo, and for me to find two young singers who can bring it, you know, and if you catch some of our videos and also you know, the album that we put out, the New Jump Blues, of material that we did at the Playboy Jazz Festival. These young performers inspire me, and I'm like you know, like the Louis Prima, the Ike Turner, the Flavor Flav. I mean, I've encompassed all of that, you know, and plus I do sing, you know. I mean, I have a voice, and we have, you know, we have real acting. I mean, what our show is almost like a play in a lot of ways, and you know, our dialogue is the music, and there's certainly a thread that goes through in terms of the songs and the selections that we do. Plus, we have some great musicians who work all the time in Los Angeles and around, mostly in Los Angeles, as our band. And I mean, they move, they lay down such a wonderful tapestry for us just to ride and have fun with. So I'm just excited about the possibilities of where this part of my career can go. Meanwhile, you know, I still am doing a lot of things, you know, within the community here in Las Vegas, teaching young people, passing on, you know, my legacy, you know, to them. Inspiring and mentoring, and you know, I'm also doing some directing. So again, it's like I'm busy, And it's and life is always in session, and
right.
my art is always challenging. So, and I can't rest. You know what I mean? There'll be time when I can rest, but meanwhile, I've got to keep moving. And the New Jump Blues is a wonderful way for me to express and to pay homage to those who laid it down before me, and so I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying that, and and we're looking at one of my dreams is that we would be the musical guest on Saturday Night Live before we're done.
There you go.
That's one thing, and then also to go to Europe and then also to play the Newport Jazz Festival in Rhode Island, and also the New Orleans Jazz Festival, and just to just have fun, man, and get it out there, man, and show people that that I'm not resting, baby.
Hey, even though you say you semi-retired, man, you doing yeoman's work, man. You don't rest for nothing. You work always. So, it's one of those things. And my next question, Antonio Fargus, our guest, Nexxlegacy Radio, and of course, the vocalist that you have on New Jump Blues is Adrian Battle and Ariel Watkins. And
Ariel Watkins, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing I wanted to tell you too, and I watched a couple of things on YouTube, and I didn't get a chance to experience it live, which hopefully I'll be able to. One thing that I could give you guys and a standing O for is the fact that you guys are giving history at the same time too. You're giving that dance hall experience like it was back in the 40s and 50s. You're giving that vibe, like not just the clothing you wear or not just the dance steps, but also it's while you're doing what you're doing on stage, you're still telling that history, and you're expressing it vocally for some of these young people who may not have known or may not have done enough homework to know what it was like as far as how music evolved from the 40s and 50s.
Yeah, and how it was in the small venues around the Chicago and in the South, and then moving even on to places like Las Vegas where some of these acts have eventually ended up or were able to have exposure. But again, it's these pioneers that have given a foundation for the music that's happening today. And for me to have this persona, because my persona in the New Jump Blues I'm called Daddy Fargus, and so these are my young proteges or my young peers, and we have this lovely relationship going on between the three of us that that is expressed in the music, and again in the choice of the songs that that are in our set. So it makes it very spicy, and it's like, yes, I think one of the reviews that talked about it said that it was before the Playboy Jazz Festival, said that it's the most refreshing, or it's back to the performers were so engaging, and Ariel is just the sweetest, has a wonderful voice, and Adrian is just smooth, and I'm all over the place, with style. And so it just makes it's a wonderful mix, man.
You wouldn't be you if you didn't have STYLE. That's just you. It seemed like you was born that way anyway. So that's just
well, I'm a work in progress, man. Because I believe that fear was a motivating factor. And the fact that I could get into character, and I had to get into character so that you wouldn't know me. And right. I think a lot of artists come from that because, I don't care if it's Marvin Gaye or Michael, these things that we had to perfect our outer image in the characters that we play or in the songs that we sang and all of that, because, you know, a lot of it, you know, again, you know, comes from pain. It comes from being lonely. It comes from, you know, not being understood, and that is a perfect mix for creative force. And then you add peace and love and serenity at the end of that rainbow. You know, if we survive, you know, if we can survive to get that, you know, to know that it's okay to be who we are, and that we do have something, and and it's okay to be different, which is why I like some of the characters that I play, you know, in my movie career, because these are people who are survivors. You know, the character in Car Wash, or even Huggy Bear. You know, he's a survivor in a hostile land, and we had to, like, you know, between how we talked, walked, and, you know, and moved, kept the wolf off of us. And
that's right.
So I love that aspect of, you know, of the reality of the characters and representing the man in the street, or even when I played Les Baxter on All My Children, to play a lawyer who had a lot of problems, and the father of Angie and all that. I mean, each one of these characters, people ask me, well, what character do you like, and what do you like best? Or, you know, and I say each one of the characters that I play are like my children. And you know, I can't pick one over the other. They all are special and dear to me. And then of course,
and Antonio, that to me, I think, let me ask you this, because you brought up Les Baxter and you brought up All My Children, which is a soap. A lot of people know, like, you've done television, Starsky and Hutch, you did movies. You know, there's so many, from Foxy Brown, I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, et cetera, et cetera. You know, and now you're doing, you know, stage. You've done so much in this point in time. So, you know, for the people out there that's listening, like, you know, you've been able to, you know, I guess in a lot of ways, during a lot of different things, reinvent yourself. I mean, you know, you didn't just have one character. Like, you know, daytime is a grind, right? Like, it is a hell of a grind.
Yep. I mean, it's just, you know, I have a great respect for the people who do soaps, you know what I mean, because it takes a lot of discipline. It's a definite style. You know, I've been able to be, you know, to work, you know, to have a couple of Broadway shows that I've done, and to know, and I started basically, you know, in a film. The first thing I did was a film, and then I did a lot of theater. And theater was, you know, was the well where it all started. Before there was television or film or anything like that, there was theater. So, I mean, and that's where we came up, and we honed our chops, which we brought into film and television. So that well-rounded experience was very valuable in having credibility and an approach to the work that gave me, you know, a sense of gratitude and, you know, and destabilization, because you couldn't rest on your laurels. Every night when you had to do that play, you had to bring it. You know, and there wasn't any take two or cut and all that. But then film has its own art, you know. When you have a segmented performance, or where you have to add music and all the different aspects to create this illusion of, you know, that we do in film. So it's just it never stops, man.
Right. And my question too is, and I remember doing an interview with Eric Braden, who plays Victor Newman on Young and the Restless. I remember he was telling me that there is a very, very low percentage of people who is, I guess you can say, well taken care of from the craft that they've created through art and entertainment. Like, you know, they can be able to take care of themselves financially based on what they do with the, you know, with the acting and doing a lot of different things.
And hopefully be happy. I mean, Eric Braden is the cat who's been on that show forever.
Good point.
You know, and you know, but I'm sure he didn't just come out of nowhere and all of a sudden end up, you know. Everybody has a history. Everybody has a history behind them, which got them to a point. And you know, and I say a lot of times, you know, people say, "Oh, aren't you tired of doing the same kinds of characters and all that?" And I say, you know what? No. Each individual character, every pimp or every, you know, crazy character, each one was an individual, and nobody said that to the actors, you know, or Clint Eastwood or any of these guys who played the same kind of roles, and if you're happy, hopefully you're happy, or I say, well, just keep crying as you take another big check to the bank. If you think, you know, like some people who are doing soaps would really love to be doing plays, or they really would love to be doing films, but meanwhile, you know, they're making a very nice living. It's like, you know, like you talked about Eric Braeden or any of these people who, or the lady who played on All My Children, the lead, what was her name? Erica played Erica Kane.
Erica, Susan Lucci. Yeah, no doubt.
Susan Lucci. I mean, you know, people, you know, that's what they did, you know, and I have such a great respect for it, you know, and it's not easy. It's not easy. I mean, I had a hard time trying to adjust my game to the soap opera game, you know, and then, you know, as I got into it, you know, then I got stronger and stronger. But each discipline is, you know, it's the same. You're using the same artist, but it's a different. You know, it's like playing another position in football or anything. You just can't, you know, go from quarterback to something else or whatever it is without, you know, the rite of passage. So, but once you get into the work and you create something special because you have that desire and hunger, you know, to do whatever it takes to make it happen, and you have some integrity and all that stuff and principle, which is in a small commodity. You know, there's very little of that sometimes.
No doubt.
You know, because it's such a money driven business sometimes, and you know, and it's about the spoils. You know what I mean? And, you know, all the things that, you know, that are traps. You know, I mean, you watch somebody come into a series when they first start, they'd be, you know, then all of a sudden they get a little rounder in the face, you know what I mean? Maybe they get a little work done, you know what I mean? I mean, it's like, you know, they get their teeth done, and, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, they're not the same person. You see them in the beginning of their career, and then you
transformed
see them,
into somebody completely different, too,
transforming, you know, and really what they hired was the character, you know? You know, and then we become these, you know, movie stars, or, you know what I mean, or people, you know, who have to, a slave to, you know, to having to look like their pictures and that are airbrushed, and you know what I mean, and you know, and all this perfection. So it's a trap, man. It's a trap to just be who you are, not get lost.
How do you feel about the evolution of television and movies? Like, let's take television, for example. I mean, it's definitely not like how the seasons of Starsky and Hutch was. It's not like how it was during Fresh Prince. It's not how it was during Martin. It's not how it was during The Cosby Show. It has changed where, you know, a lot of people can blame a lot of different reasons, you know, as far as from the networks to whatever, but it's definitely different. I don't want to say different in a bad sense, because there are still some good actors and actresses out there that do amazing work, but, you know, they may not be seen or heard. So, you know, I'm not going to poo-poo on that. But the emotions and the memories that we've had so much so in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s kind of hit and crash landed in a lot of different directions. But what is your opinion about just the evolution of television, first off?
Well, I think it started off as an innocence, you know what I mean? Just like when movies back in the day were escapism. Now people want so much realism that, and then they want to fake that. I mean, that's what reality shows are. People think that it's not a really reality. So they're big time productions. They're almost like doing commercials. Look at the evolution of commercials, even. I mean, it's just there was an innocence about the time of Starsky and Hutch. I mean, they were fantastic kind of escapism police officers. You don't have those kind of police officers out there now. It's like how real or about beards and people. I mean, it's just there's so many. It's the television buffet has added more and more dishes to the game.
Good point.
And
Good point.
For me, I live in the memory of old music. I live in the memory of the times when I came up, through the game, and I can appreciate today's music. I mean, rap music and all these things are an evolution of time, but storytelling and the basics,
and the memories that came with it as well.
Right. So when somebody tries to, I mean, look at Beyonce sings Etta James' song, you know what I mean, and people forget that Etta James, put her foot all over that, but and when some of these artists today can recapture some of the past in terms of giving homage to where they got it from, but it's a different deal on television. But I got no problem with it. All I know is that it's time for me to step aside and do special kind of things, and I'm going back to my roots. I'm going back to doing small cameo roles. I'm working on a film right now called Beyond Skyline. We shot some of it in Indonesia, and we're going to finish shooting it. I'm going to finish doing my part in February in Los Angeles, because the story takes place in Los Angeles, and then it goes to Southeast Asia. It's a sci-fi thing about UFOs and so, but it's real interesting. And I just played this character called Sarge, and he's a blind, homeless Vietnam veteran. And it's just, and I did a film called Swamp Terror, where for the Sci-Fi Channel, and then of course I did a thing called Bells, Silver Bells, which was on the Christian Channel. It was about I played a Salvation Army guy. This was 2 Christmases, not this Christmas, but last Christmas, before this one, and then of course working on Everybody Hates Chris was I did 4 years of playing Doc, the guy in the store, who befriends Chris and all of that. But it's just it's just a wonderful, wonderful evolution, to go back to my roots. I never wanted to be the star headline. I never wanted to be. I just wanted to put a particular flavor in the projects and they called on me because I brought something that they couldn't teach. I mean, it's just like an athlete. You can't teach speed. You can't teach someone who's willing to do the work. And I look at. I was in a book called The Celluloid Closet about actors who played gay roles in their career, and I was doing that before it became popular.
Right.
It was always for me about the humanity of the character. Before that, people used to do these roles and they used to act at it and say, it's not really me. I'm just acting like this person. But when I tried to do it, all my characters is to embody all of those things about why somebody feels the way they feel about themselves, and so it's just that's the only way I know how to do it, man.
Hey, and do it with style. That's just how Antonio Fargus is, who is our guest on Nexxlegacy Radio. Hey, and a couple questions before we let you go is in how the day and age of movies and everything that is such a blockbuster now has sci-fi attached to it. I mean, you mentioned certain things as far as what you have going on, and the evolution of the superhero is really taking flight. So I mean, I know you was on. I'm gonna get you stuck as Fly Guy, and I kind of consider that as a hero role in a sense, I guess you can say. But if you could take
in his own mind, and Fly Guy
in his own mind, no doubt. And now if you could take a snapshot of any, either you can create a character or if you could take it from any of the current comic books or whatever. What ideal role would Antonio Fargus be right now at this stage in his career?
Wow.
What would be a good role for you to play, sir?
Wow. Well, on stage, there's a role called Iago in Othello, who's the nemesis of Othello.
Okay.
On film, I just to do what I've been doing is just to find those little characters. That's why I like doing, art films or films that are not blockbusters. There's so much. First of all, there's so much computer-generated stuff in movies now that it's taking the realism out. They're trying to make it too real. It's almost like high definition is too, it's too perfect. It's taking, and film has a quality about it that's been lost with high definition, and so some of the stuff that they can do with the computer. I mean, we live in an age where you can make a movie with a look like a still camera. You can a few years ago you can produce an album with a computer. You see guys doing these. DJs who go around with just a lot. They don't carry records or anything anymore. Everything is programmed into the computer. People can sound as good as they sound on record on stage because it's all mechanically engineered. People don't have to sing that well anymore. I mean, you can sing into the thing and it'll keep you called auto tunes. I mean, it'll keep you on tune and pitch and all that other stuff. So you don't know what you're getting anymore,
Remember the crates, and you had to dig into the crates and just being able to just grab the records that you wanted to spin, and you put it on there, and you made it work. You got that in.
I mean, it's changed. I mean, I went from VHS, to DVDs to Blu-ray. I mean, it's just it goes on, and So
but I think if you had to dig into like a superhero role, I know Black Panther's coming out in a couple of years, but I think playing his dad, King T'Chaka, would be an ideal role for you.
There's what's that show that about the record industry? It's a new TV. Glory. What's it? Not Glory.
Empire.
Empire. I would like to play my man's father, maybe.
Okay. All right.
Something like that, or or an older, or a role like the guy who played House, or play a police guy who's not like Sherlock Holmes, but just a guy who's retired and and knows the ways of the street and knows all these things. And I don't know. I mean, the sky's the limit. But I like when people come and say, what, Antonio, I'd like you to play this little role in this movie. And now because I have no restrictions on me that I have to make $1 billion and all that, it ain't about that. It's about the work. So I've been helping a lot of young filmmakers and saying, okay, giving them my number. They know how to reach me. I don't do Twitter and all that other stuff or Facebook, but I'm reconsidering that now. That I might do some Twitter, maybe work in the Facebook. But really, people who know how want to find me can find me. People have my phone number, my email address. and and I make myself available, especially for for these young directors or people who want some, who want advice, or who I can share my strength, hope, and experience with. So,
indeed. I want to make sure that if anybody out there is looking for even though Antonio Fargus is semi-retired, if he's available, anything, you can hit inquiries at dxxnyc.com. You can dial 201-224-6570 for more details, and you can also go to www.thenewjumpblues.com if you want to take a look and see what Mr. Fargus is up to. And not only that, just to be able to embrace his legacy. And before I let you go, I got to tell you, even though, Mr. Fargus, you are my friend, we go way back. So, and I appreciate, all the times that we've not just interviewed, but, you are a wealth of knowledge and beyond. But I got to tell you, someone like you inspires someone like me, just for the simple fact that, I appreciated the work before we even met or crossed paths. And now I can safely say, hey, you know what? That's the homie right there. That is somebody that I could definitely lean on for advice or and things like that. As down to earth as you are, and all the people he's a TV film star, and Antonio Fargus is not one to shy away from an interview or to, like you said, do it old school, throw it back, and give you a phone call or send you an email for encouragement.
That's right.
And you've done that.
That's
so
right.
You're a great guy.
And, and if people send me stuff, sometimes I might get overwhelmed. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you're gonna get an answer. And I appreciate sometimes when people are patient with me. But I do like the fact that I'm not. I'm not hiding or trying to, or duck anything or duck an experience, man. And I get what I need. I get what I need. I'm so blessed. And thank you for taking the time to, have me on. Let's do this again. And,
yes, sir.
And I
want to see you guys, Antonio. I want to see you guys perform. So we got to talk offline so you can let me know where you're going to be at, so I could, so I could be a guest or something like that. I'm inviting myself to your party. Just letting you know that.
Okay.
I'm coming to your party, so you got to let me know when and where, and we'll get together.
Check with double exposure, man, and let's hook up and you get the numbers and deal, and so we can we stay close.
Indeed, definitely, and thank you, man. Not just for the time that you've given me, but thank you for your work and your legacy, and that you continue to not just inspire. Saying young cats and people that's been in your corner for so long, but just thank you for the hard work that you put in that's inspiring all of us that's listening to continue to push on, man. You are definitely an inspiration.
Well, thank you for legacy, man. Have a good night.
You do the same, sir. That is a icon, Mr. Antonio Fargus. More music right here on Nexxlegacy Radio.
Nexxlegacy.